and welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. With 4 race starts, we're going to start with our Category 4 riders, then 3, 2 and 1. Our riders lined up in yellow, that is our Category 1 riders, in green our Category 2, in blue Category 3 and Category 4 in red.
The legs are warm, the bikes are ready, the riders are on final countdown. This is qualifier number 2 for January 2024 on the Sunday Race Club. And our riders are up and away. Look at that, she's done it.
Tasani has gone right over the top and got back
Phenomenal
on.
ride.
Yeah, great ride. And London now is actually the rider who is almost in touch behind. She's just about going to make contact.
At the moment, she's in that leading group in Category 2. They are mixed in there with the bunch in Category 3. Chasing the leading group in Category 4.
All of our leaders come together. We've got Category 2, 3 and 4 on the road all together. You need to kick up that pace, get into that draft. Kick to take yourself out and attack. Kick to take the sprint. When you come in with 4 riders, a kick will take you up there. Short burst, lots of pace. Get in that pack and stay in that pack. This is starting to get very spicy indeed on the front. The numbers you see are going up. The chevrons are coming in, the red chevrons, the yellow chevrons. It is all starting to kick here. This is a select group.
Rona Prado Hermansen, the 1, 2, 3 in the Category 2 race. The next rider on the road now, that is Lou Bates in the Category 1 race. Monica Rona sees the line. She sees the finish gantry. She takes the win today in Category 2 on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club.
Hello and welcome. It is qualifier number 3 on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. Yes, it's come round again. Another week has gone by. Hope you've all been riding your bikes. I haven't. I have to admit, we've been really busy with loads and loads of work and loads of prep. My name's Matt Payne. I'm here in the studio with the one and only
Emma Martin.
And you have been riding your bike. I know you've been getting plenty of kilometres in.
I have indeed been riding my bike. I've done a little bit of racing too, but it's not my racing we're looking at today. It is the women on MyWhoosh.
It is indeed. And we've had 2 great qualifiers so far in qualifier 1 and 2. This is the final last chance saloon. Let's take a look at where we are and where we're heading and what is in front of our riders.
Well, in front of our riders today, they are heading to Australia for the Outer Loop course. I love this race course. 35 kilometres of racing, 593 metres of climbing. And that Category 2 climb, the Cambra climb, comes at 15.3 kilometres into this course. And the women need to treat the top of that Category 2 climb like the finish line. It's a stepped climb and it really does kick 13% in the first kick, up to 16% to the finish. There are 2 sprints along the way. The first sprint coming at 4.2 kilometres, and then there's one on that run into the finish. It's a 14.3 kilometre run from the top of the Cambra climb to the finish line. It's fast, it's furious, and it is going to go from the gun.
I'm sure it's going to go from the gun. And one of the key points in there, one of the key places that I'm always very wary of is, in fact, that dip and rise just before we get to the main climb. So I'm going to be keeping my eye out for that, particularly when we go in, if we've got a big group at that stage. It's not flat elsewhere, but let's see how our riders get on with it. Let's take a look at our riders. You can see all 4 categories lined up to go. Staggered starts, 5 minutes between each category. Category 4 are going to be the first of our riders away. We have a real mix of teams in our Category 4 competition. It's going to be really interesting to see. I know there's lots of the Petit 4 riders in here. People like Sonson, Hyde, Lloyd and Francis. Power Watts, Kirchner and Farron are always worth watching. And we've got Alkabi in here, Driscoll in here. It's a real who's who, isn't it, Emma?
28 riders on the start sheets in Category 4 today. It's a really, really big field. And you're right, Matt, everybody is here. Ospina, Kirchner, Warren, Paolo, Moreno, Sarasuk, Arrayas. They are all in the mix today in those red jerseys. Well, we're going to have a call out soon because there's just under 100 women in this race today.
So here we go. It's time to go. Last chance qualifier is away in category 4. We are heading into Wollongong, into Australia to go test ourselves out on the outer loop. And this race start is an absolutely critical start for our riders because they have to go round this left turn. There is a dip and a rise, and then you are onto a very nasty kicker. Now, this first kicker is part of the parameter route. If you've been out riding in MyWhoosh and you've been out and making your way around here, the parameter route, that climb, that dive up is very tough indeed. And I think at the moment, Colin Lenore is on a bit of a mission to get herself right in ahead of that group, because Lenore looking very strong at the moment, really stretching this group out and does not want to let this come together. And look at the damage that's being done behind here. We've got a 3, then we've got a pack of about 18, and then I think we've got 2 or 3 after. This is absolute carnage behind, and it's all because the riders really wanting to go. Sonnerson up here, and you can see on the right hand side of your screen the chevrons are kicking in. Emma, this is a blisteringly quick and very aggressive start.
Well, we always see an aggressive start on the outer loop in Australia because you come off of that start pen, you take that left hand bend, and you go straight into this first climb in the first 500 meters, and you can see what it has done to the pack. Sonnerson and Reyes, the 2 riders who kicked on, are now being closed down. Now, Trinidad Reyes took the win last week. Sonnerson, we know, is really, really strong and has been up there in the top 5. She was indeed in the December final, finishing in 4th position. So 2 very strong riders up and out of the start pen straight away. Georgina Hyde is covering the move, so is Joanna Warren. These riders all pushing to the fore. Now, the damage here is done to the back of the field, not the front of the field. They do not seem to escape on this section, but riders are definitely put into the red very early on this course, and the damage can be done here. You can lose the race within the first 1,500 meters.
And it's very, very easy to lose contact on the group before you go over the top. As we go over the top, though, the pace picks up, the gaps, the distances increase. Simple physics. The faster you are going, the bigger the distance for the same amount of time. So what is a 1 second time gap on a climb might only be a matter of a few centimeters. On a descent, you can go a long way in 1 second. You can be traveling a long way. You can actually do 100 meters in a second. It's quite possible if you're going fast enough. If you're a big lump like me going downhill on an alpine descent, it is doable, more than doable. So depends on how fast the riders push over the top. You can see there's a split starting to open in the middle of that group that is not being closed down. And the problem is, at the front of this group, we've got a mass of riders, so there's more draft, more people to take the turn. Behind there in 1s and 2s, they're going to be, if they make contact, they're still going to be working harder.
Yeah, they are indeed working hard to make contact. I can see, those riders behind. We've got this bunch now forming and spreading across the road at the front, meaning that the pace is off here. So Lloyd is here, Reyes, Francis, Lenore, Warren, Hyde, Grace Paolo is in here as well. So all the riders we would expect to see covering the front of the Category 4 race are indeed there, covering the front of the Category 4 race. The rest of them still frantically trying to work to get on. I can see 3.2, 3.3 from the chase riders, and that is trying to get back on this group and stay in contention, because the pace is moving strongly. And you can see on the bottom left hand side of your screen, this is one of my favorite screens on the footage, because it really gives you an indication of what is happening in the bunch, what is happening behind, and as we move into the latter stages of the race, what is happening in all the the front of all the races.
Indeed, and we do try and cover everybody. It's an impossibility with so many, but we'll cover as many and talk about as many of you as we can. We're going to move on from Category 4 to Category 3. Here we have Team Golden Light riding. I think Nicola Takova of the Warrior Reindeers is in the mix here today. People like Bridget Bremner, who's continuing to get stronger. Brittany Litton in here, Claudia Gentili. It is a real cast of riders, isn't it? I mean, Philippa Hill's been riding very strong.
Yeah, indeed. 25 riders on the start sheets today. And Rebecca Johnson is in here. Giuliano is in here. Vink is here, having come up from Category 4. Bremner, Litton, Gentili, Barco, De Silva. Really, really class field. Well, it's Glassfield in the start pen. They're turning their legs over at the moment, but it is green for go. Up and away are our Category 3 riders on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. They take the turn out of the start pen onto the bridge. They're going to take the left-hand turn at the end of the bridge out onto the course in Australia. It's going to be a cracker.
It is, and this is always interesting when Category 3 hit. They're the first step up the ladder from Category 4, and I think this is when we start to see a little bit more cynicism, but still some enthusiasm in there as well. It's a real mix when you get in here. I always think Category 4 is always full of it. Everyone's doing it because they love it. Don't get me wrong, it doesn't matter whether you're on Category 1 or Category 4. You wouldn't do this if you didn't enjoy this, because, you know, getting off the sofa, getting out of bed.
You seriously would not do this if you didn't enjoy it.
It is really, really, and you know, this sort of Type 1 fun, it is honestly just the best thing. I absolutely love racing, and anybody, and I know Emma is the same, anybody though who's got that competitive edge, who wants that, is going to be jumping on board. And you see that here. What I love is because the groups are so close, there's always somebody. It doesn't matter whether you're at the front battling, so if I'm battling, you know, Joe Blogs, or whether I'm at the back battling his brother Fred Blogs, it doesn't really matter. But you get to know the riders around you, who's going well with you, having a good day, a bad day, and you find out very early. Now, we saw a big split start to occur, and on the left-hand side of your screen, as Emma pointed out, you can start to see the leaders. You can see that there are 3, if not 4, definitive groups in red. Yeah. They are the leaders in Category 3. We've got one main group which is fracturing in a Category 3, making its way up. The groups are breaking up in 3 and in 4 here today already, so it's going to be a very tough race, I think.
Well, you're not joking, are you, Matt? Because the power having to be put down by these Category 3 riders to chase Gina de Gracia and Ella Vink back. Really, really strong, really big pushes coming out of the group. They are indeed bringing it back, but look at the stretch on that group at the top of the climb. I was thinking at the bottom they were much more considered coming out of the start pen, but well, they really did push on. Jenny Tan, Natalia Idzik right up there. Ella Vink covering the move with Bridget Bremner. Great to see Bremner moving into this Category 3 field, and really looking forward to seeing what she can do over the next few weeks.
Definitely that progression, that improvement, that movement is all part of riding and training. And it takes, you know, don't be disappointed when you jump on and in the first 2 weeks you don't rock it up to Category 1. You know, it takes 8 weeks. 8 weeks is generally...
It takes longer than 8 weeks to get from Category 4 to Category 1.
I'll be impressed if anybody can do it in that time. That's some serious progression. But it takes 8 weeks for any training really to take a proper physiological effect. You can get improvements quicker, but 8 weeks is the kind of number you want to be looking at. And if in 8 weeks you move from one category to another and you've seen that progression, that is brilliant progress. And I think most people will start to see that. Eventually everybody levels out. We've all got our genetically inbuilt level and the amount of training and working. We've got to remember, everybody will have things going on in their life outside. Now, if you're a professional athlete, that might be whether you're up to level 49 on Fortnite and whether your Lamborghini is broken down. If you are an amateur rider or racer, then you're going to find yourself maybe having to juggle family life, work life, as well as riding, and maybe, you know, just simply making sure that everything's ticking along. But you can get out, get that escape, jump on board MyWhoosh, come and join us on Sunday Race Club. You could be in with Category 4, Category 4, Category 3, or in fact Category 2, who are our next riders to go. They're the riders in green, and you can see this is always competitive, but
it's
Emma,
our smallest race field today.
Small race. I was quite shocked to see how small, but then I looked at who's here and I thought, oh wow, yeah. This is going to be really interesting. So this will be a fantastic race here today. Let's see who's going to be taking it out. So we've got Grind My Gears, so we've got the Maniacs, and we've got the Sunday Crew. I do love the Sunday Crew. I mean, it really does name their team exactly what it is, with Davidson and Daniel Zimmerman and Sarmiento Martinez in there. But when we look at our riders here, I mean, you've got people like Lisa Hermansen, Marcel Smithers in here, Northern Kekkonen, the Calpain. you could name any one of these riders and think they could take the victory. Let's see what they're going to do. We're about to hit the boardwalk and head in round towards that climb. They know what's coming. We're in with Julia Walker as we go from the gun. Category 2 are heading out from those pens. We're going to head towards the tunnels, but we turn left here. We then go round in a loop, and our riders are going to turn left. Now, as Category 3 leaders start to come behind them, and as they head down, you can see that we now have red, blue, and green riders out on course. On the satellite navigation view on the left of your screen, our riders are going to be eyes forward. The climb is coming. I think what they're going to be doing, Category 4 style, Category 3 style, or are they going to be doing a Category 2 freestyle up here, Emma? What do you reckon?
Hermansen is already on the front. Prado's sat in behind. Zabala, Walker, Zimmerman and Daniel are all in the mix. What are they going to do? Well, I think we're going to see a stretch on the front. It is not a big group today, but it is big enough to want to break. I think we're going to see a stretch on the group here because we've already got a rider in danger 600 metres off the start pen. Now, the start's absolutely crucial. You need to be warmed up, you need to be ready, and you need to get your momentum right in your kick off the line. You want to be pushing up through the power, not dropping off of the power as you come out of that start pen, because that momentum is absolutely crucial to go with the group.
And that is actually pre-starting before the clock gets to 0. That countdown clock is really key, isn't it?
It is, but you need to be really careful. You do not want to start winding up 25 seconds before the gun, because you are going to use too much energy. You really want to practice, get your timing perfect. You need to be going in that last 5 seconds, and you really, really need to practice.
And that's going to vary a little bit, I guess, between individuals as they do this, or is it pretty universal?
I would say getting your timing right is pretty universal. 2, making sure you're on the updraft of your power rather than having to go to the top is really key. And those things are really important. So Hermansen here right in the mix at the front of this pack. In fact, other than the one casualty we saw off at the start pen, all the riders in this Category 2 group, nice tight bunch on the road.
So the riders at the moment making the way down around this right-hand bend here. Lisa Hermansen that we're riding in with at the moment is the rider who has got this dialed. We know Lisa Hermansen is an absolutely adept performer when it comes to riding on esports. She's got the positioning down. She's very comfy on that. She's very good at getting the pace and the timing right as well, and conserving energy.
Definitely, and she really is a driver to this Category 2 race field. Montgomery, Sarmiento's been going well as well, you know, in the mix here. It's going to be really interesting to see. I'm going to call this really early in this Category 2 race. I think this Category 2 race is going to be a sprint finish today. I know it's the smallest race field by some margin that we have on the Sunday Race Club for Qualifier 3, but the quality and strength and depth of these women, I think, particularly on this outer loop course, we're going to see a sprint finish today from Category 2.
Ooh. Calling it, I'm liking this. We're only 2.5.
I'm going out early.
You are. You're trying to get your timing right on the way out of the gate there. Just let's see if Emma's timing is spot on. Now, we're just taking a look at Lisa Hermansen here. Really interesting to watch Lisa in action. We know we've seen her down at MyWhoosh before, and you can see at the moment, got the headband on, keeping the hair out of the eyes. Got to be able to see what's going on. And I think Lisa at the moment looking pretty comfy with this. Now, if Lisa's got the live show on, she'll actually be able to give us a thumbs up. And she'll be able to say, yeah, I'm watching, I'm keeping an eye on what everybody's doing. Hopefully she's all right in there. She looks really comfy. I don't look like that when I'm going to race start.
I was laughing because you're saying headband keeping the hair out of the eyes. I had sweat dripping in my eyes racing yesterday.
Well, that shows you how hard you need to go. Emma knows exactly how hard it is racing very recently indeed. Let's see if our Category 1 teams can do that. The Coalition Composite with Val Batesman, Shandy and Sidlick. We've got the Effetto Skier here today, Bassoni, Columbia, Giovanni and Whitelaw. Risky Biscuits are represented by Bjarhev Fiora and Koivunen, and I think the Velo girls taking to the start line with Gonzalez, Rio, Kalman, Kasani. It's a real who's who. It's time to hit the road. Our final category already.
In the start pen, the yellow jerseys, the power's going down. They are up, they are out, they are away on qualifier race number 3 for January 2024. This is the first month of racing this year. It's not going to be the last by a long shot. These category 1 women up and out this start pen. As you can see, the category 2 women coming through in the opposite direction. Yellow jerseys taking the left-hand turn, the green jerseys took the right-hand turn. This is a strong start, and we've got Kalman, Bassoni, Gianti, Van Hove, Kalman, Bates, Fua, Engstrom, Rona has come up from category 2. So really looking forward to this today. 22 riders on the start sheets in category 1. Well, it was Bassoni who took it from Bates last week after Bates blew in the final stages of that race. It's a very, very different course today. You can take a look. Asulia Kasani is in the corner right on your screen at the moment. She's working up onto this climb with this pack of category 1 riders.
And look at our pedal cadence there, really kicking it round. It's reflected in the avatar. Love the fact that we can see the person in the pain cave there riding. We've got our athlete really giving it some. Kasani's avatar really spinning away here to try and stay in there, and as the gradient bites, the cadence comes down. You can just see the power really going in there. Down on the drops, really interesting there. Just a quick change of the gear, just trying to get that cadence back up to 91. Looking really smooth. That was really interesting there, Emma.
Yeah, you really saw the effort on this short dig out of the start pen. And I say out of the start pen, it comes at 500 metres into this course in Australia. This is the Outer Loop race course. The climb, which we've just seen the riders on within 500 metres of that start pen. We then run through the Sydney Sprint, comes at 4.2 kilometres. We then drop into the underwater tunnels. We kick out of those tunnels, and the climb, the category 2 Cambra climb, comes at 15.3 kilometres into this race. This is one of these race courses where we see a lot of action in the early stages, as we're in with Fur at the moment, and you can see Fur on the bottom left hand side of your screen. This is a much gentler gradient. In fact, it's only just positive than we saw with Kasani coming in there, but Fur also on your screen at the moment, just highlighting that cadence and the importance of it. And that's one thing we've talked about quite a bit, isn't it, Matt?
Cadence is really key. The speed that you rev. Catherine Fur's done a lot of training on hill climbing, and that's very good at getting you strong. It's much more difficult to keep that rev, that souplesse, that speed going if you do a lot of hill climb training, but looking very, very smooth at the moment. Bottle on the bike there, table to the side with the kit ready to go. Interestingly, you got the fan there waiting, to kick in, and that is a fan that is coupled to your heart rate. I'm sure that's absolutely going flat out at the moment, to be brutally honest, given the way that it is. But I think outside the windows, I think that's snow out there at the moment outside Catherine Fur's window, because it looks blinking cold outside where Catherine is. And that's what we've got to remember. Riders all around the world, and that's what I really love about seeing the actual riders. We not only put a face and a setting to the riders, but we also get an insight into where people are riding, because for some people it's the middle of the night, daytime, it's hot, it's cold, it could be. We've got a storm in the UK. We're underground in the Full Speed Event studios here, linking in with the team in MyWhoosh in the UAE, and of course then riders coming from around the globe.
And we often assume, well, I say we, I'm using the Northern Hemisphere, we often assume that training indoors and racing indoors is about cold weather. But actually it's not, is it? Because we have riders who live in the hot weather where it's 38, 40, 42 degrees. You don't want to ride outdoors then either.
Speak for yourself.
So
I'd quite like to.
We do indeed have riders around the world, and we have riders on all different time lines. I can tell you, Steph Sidlick, I had a chat with her the other week. She was racing at 2 a.m. in the morning. So I'm never moaning at my alarm going at 5 a.m. to get up and look at and watch and talk about the Sunday Race Club, because Sidlick, she's on her bike at 2 a.m. in the morning to join us.
Yeah, and thank you to all of our riders. It makes our job much easier when they're all up, awake, and giving it lots of beans, and that's what's happening in all of our categories. Category 2 at the moment, this bunch just making the way through those twists and turns. They're about to hit the riser. Now, if you cast your mind back to that course profile, before we got to the climb that comes at halfway, there is a dip down to our low point in the course. To get into that dip, we have the rise and then we have the fall. The fall down is where they're about to go into. They've got to get over this rise, which is a 4% kicker, so it's not easy. And then you dive down, you go along the bottom. We saw a Category 4 leader. Sonnerson's already on the way up out of this section. So Category 1 are a long way before they get here. Category 2 are about to go over the top of the rise. The gradient's leveling off now. And then as they go over the bridge, they'll dip down. 3 are on the way through the bottom and 4 on the climb. Now, in with Julia Montgomery at the moment in Sweden. Our Swedish rider at the moment. Well, I say in Sweden, could be anywhere in the world, but from Sweden. Now, at the moment, getting into that draft, really focused there. Great to see, keeping a check on what's going on. And our riders have multiple screens, don't they, usually, to see what they're doing.
Yeah, they do indeed. And for our viewers, you can identify when the rider is in the draft because the watts at the top of the screen turn green. So when the watts are white, as they are at the moment, the rider is not in the draft. Beautifully timed in terms of turning to the green, showing that the draft has been picked up. And you want to be sitting in the draft in a pack like this because you will be doing less work.
You will. You're going to be doing less work. And I think for me, that's key. The people that we see doing work when it's needed and doing the minimum work and only when it's needed often are the riders who have something for those key moments, which here could be on the ascent out, because we're well onto this descent. You see at the moment the speed is right up. We're at just short of 60 kilometers an hour, or 40 miles an hour if you work in old money. The riders on the way down here. Montgomery looking smooth here with that pedal cadence there on that descent. On the left-hand side of your screen, said they were a little way back. They've covered 4.2k at the moment. Category 1 are just on the way through that sprint segment, through the Sydney Sprint. And at the moment, that is not looking too aggressive. I think this is now a pretty comfortable bunch. They are not doing work where they don't need to. They're saving their energy for those decisive moments. And that could come when things are here. Look at Catherine Fuhr. Come on, Catherine. Catherine's out for a Sunday ride here. That's
wrong.
Nice and comfy.
Let me just put it this way. It is a Sunday ride by the note that it is Sunday and they are riding. Well, just going through that sprint segment there, it was indeed the Sydney Sprint, and our Category 1 riders taking it nice and steady through there, not picking up because of the sprint section at all, just continuing to roll, continuing to rotate as the leading pack in the race. So Bassoni, Bruni, Rona, Ospina, Sidlick, Bates, Manshandi, Menendez, Whitelaw, Columbi, Rona and Fuhr all tightly packed into this leading group in the Category 1 race field. I think they're going to be here together until they get to the bottom of that climb. How big the group is going to be at the top of the climb, well, that is going to be the important factor in this race today.
So we will see if they're going to be together. At the moment, as you can see on your screens, they're not figuring up at the top of the standings. Jared Miller with the fastest time through, running right through that. All Category 3 riders there. Their pack was moving the fastest as they hit this segment. And I think probably Emma's looking at the screens now, work scrolling through. In that Sydney Sprint, Emma, it's a long way, I'm guessing, to Category 1. We saw Catherine Fuhr's heart rate 137. She was looking pretty smooth compared to Category 3.
Well, Category 1 goes through as the second fastest bunch. So Category 3, Category 1, Category 2, Category 4. That is the order of the bunches going through that sprint segment. And I say bunches because they have just ridden through.
Okay, so they've just ridden through the first sprint, not using that because the sprints don't count for anything for the prizes. This is the key moment. So this is the long climb out from that low point in the course, that depression that comes, the key point before. Vink is ripping this up, and look at the damage that's being done. Riders, when it's strung out like this, are having to work. The other thing you need to keep an eye out for is the brand new steering function here. You see Vink is right out on that white line. I suspect she's broken across to try and keep clear. Now you can break the draft. You can do exactly what you would do if you were out on the road. You would go and sprint down the gutter. My favourite tactic: go from the back of the group to the front, sprint down the gutter, build up the speed whilst people can't see you behind them. Give it some beans down the outside, and then you rocket your way up. And that way you can get clear using the steering that's in there. Now, steering upgrades come in, and that's really been enhanced. The latest update, do check it out, the latest 3.5.2. For those of you that are counting, this is 3.5.2 update. The steering in there. So if you've got, for example, a kicker bike, you've got the controls on the top of the handlebars to allow you to steer. If you've got a jet black turn block or a riser where you turn the block or the wheel you're steering on your normal bike, they all work. You can use the left and right on the iPad. And don't forget, of course, you can also use a keypad. So if you've got something like Windows, you've got a mini keypad, you can actually program it so it does the left and right as well. So you can steer and use that to break the draft. And that interaction, that extra level of ability, really, really key. We're just in with Lou Bates at the moment. You see Lou with a complete keyboard in front of us, so lots of opportunities to type. Loving the flag in the background. The bike's hung up as well. I think that may be a dehumidifier, a fan in the background as well. And you can see there's going to be there's a phone holder. Everybody has lots of kit. The more, I'm a great kit fiend. The more kit you have, the better.
You're just a tech kit geek, aren't you?
I am. What I think is really interesting is that Lou there is looking very comfy.
Well, she's been very comfy racing since she joined us on the Sunday Race Club. She came out and put her domination down, and I'm going to use that. I was thinking about that word, but that is the word I'm going to use. Yeah. She dominated the first race that she did on the Sunday Race Club when she joined the peloton, and she has continued to climb phenomenally. Really looking forward to seeing what she can do today, because this is a steep climb. It is 5.4 kilometers long. Really could suit her. If she can go over with a much smaller group on this climb, they could stay clear till the finish.
Let's see what's going to happen. Our Category 1 riders, Lou Bates, that we just saw on your screens, tucked in with the bunch, just moving across to jumping. You can see the riders in the draft. They have the green Watts number. So top center of your screen, just going green there. The Watts mean green is good. Green is in the draft. That is great. It's just like cyclocross, basically. You can tell I'm getting ready. We've got some more cyclocross coming out very shortly. So green is good. You are in the draft. White is in the wind, and that means you're putting extra watts down compared to a rider at the same speed who is hiding behind somebody else. And that is absolutely critical. Make sure that you stay in that draft as much as possible. Now, Category 1 are descending. They're nearly at the base of the descent. On the way up and nearly at the top of the ascent out from the tunnels. You can see Category 2 is fractured here. We've seen a few chevrons in as riders just kick in, but they're not panicking. This group don't have panic stations written all over them. There's not... They don't. They are smoothly, carefully, calmly picking up the riders at the front who set that pace. They know the top's coming. They know they've got some in reserve. They know that they can make this. I don't think they're worried that they're going to get dropped here. I think this is just about riding calmly to stay in contention. This is positive action, not panicking action.
Oh, I would agree with that completely. They're at 11.1 kilometres into this 35-kilometre course, but the Category 2 climb comes at 15.3. They are wanting to stay here, but they are not wanting to put in too much effort, because they do not want to be unable to dig deep on that climb. Now, taking a look at this is Novelin Kokkonen we are seeing on our screen, and she is some way back off that group.
As is Angel Hadlock. Now, these are both very experienced riders on MyWhoosh, but we do need to remember, of course, that everybody is going to be able to put down the ride week in, week out, time in, time out. And a lot of people will need to make sure they want that second qualifying ride in the bank. Novelin at the moment, Novelin Kokkonen in here. Now, Novelin, when she first came in, absolutely blew people away with a long climb power. She's really good at accelerating on those ascents, on those big, long climbs. And at the moment, just kicking out of the saddle. So digging in there, Novelty's now going to have to decide, is she going to try and chase a 30-second gap to Sabala? Is she going to wait, or is she going to sit into a time trial rhythm here, Emma?
One of the things that is really interesting about this course, and tactically I do question, is whether riders are deliberately choosing to come back off the group to get picked up.
Ooh.
Because if you can time the pickup from the pack behind, it is really, really beneficial on this course. But you've got to time that pickup over the top of the climb. If a category 2 rider gets picked up by a category 1 pack on the climb, they just do not have the power to go with them. But if you get picked up on the descent or on the flat after the descent, the pace that the pack will be moving at, you are probably able to sit in the draft.
So the draft is equal to the differential in ability or in performance on a descent, where the draft has more effect because you're at a higher speed. When you're on a climb, because it is about pure power to weight ratio, pure power, it's not about draft as much. Therefore, that is when you are going to be less able to stay with the group, or you're going to have to expend a lot of energy and probably put yourself too far.
Well, you're just probably not capable.
Can't do it.
You're just probably not capable of doing those numbers, because if you were capable of doing those numbers, you'd be in the category who was catching you.
There we go. Right. Let's move across categories into category 3. Now you can see we've got our green skin suit here. That is Alejandra in here in the green of the sprint point winner. So the fastest time through that sprint. We're riding in though with Rebecca Johnson at the moment. So Johnson, you can just see keeping that pace down there, trying to stay focused. Towel on there as well, looking warm.
Well, you can tell how hard she's working. Her heart rate's currently at 182. Yeah. It's just dropped to 181, but I'm sure those 3 beats are probably not as much respite as Johnson would like. You can see the effort going in to the Sunday Race Club. She is coming up for 15 kilometers now of racing, and they are about to hit that climb. Big, deep breath. Fill those lungs with air. Let's race.
And that's the key thing, isn't it? It's knowing when to rest. Good recovery required here, because we're about to hit the climb. This is the categorized climb here today, the category 2 climb of the Cambra climb. It's a stepped climb that makes its way up here. 3 steps. We're about to go under the arch. We're about to hit step 1.
Well, step 1 is go underneath the polka dot banner. That is what Johnson and the leading group in this category 3 race are doing at the moment. Looking at that, and I think that's 10 riders in that leading pack of this category 3 race. They are pushing up this climb. They are the second group of riders on the Sunday Race Club today to hit the Cambra climb. The category 4 leading group will be ahead of them, but here at the moment, it is Vink, Takova, Johnson, Idzik, Gentili, Hill. There are 16 category 4 riders ahead of them.
And they've got to push down. Now is the time when they're really going to be trying to stay in contact. The gradient on part 1 of this climb, step 1, is the increase in. So you run in, you increase the gradient, and then it increases again. It will level for the first of those platforms between steps 1 and 2. It's a long, flat section at the moment. Ella Vink going to the right-hand side of the road, our left on the screen, looking to break clear, looking to take advantage of the draft. She's not going to be giving any benefit to the riders behind, and the response is coming, and it is coming from Takova. It's coming from Gentili. They are pushing their way up into the climb as category 1 make the way out from the base of the tunnels. Category 1 at the moment, again, still a compact group. Nobody using this as an opportunity to attack. That may be something they rue that they may regret as they come in to the finish, because this means it's still a big group here. That was one opportunity potentially to distance somebody, and we know that this could be a split.
Well,
Here would stop a sprint. Split it here, no sprint later.
18 riders in this leading group in category 1. As we drop in with Columbia, she's just on the bottom left-hand side of your screen, and she's tucked tightly into that pack, continuing to push on this pretty flat section. But the work and the pace, still continuing to have to work hard to sit in this group. And the tactics, I think, are going to be really interesting to see. I think one of the great things about dropping in on these cameras is the fact that we just see how hard our riders are working.
We are indeed. I think Celine Columbia, she's a very experienced racer, isn't she? We've seen her competing at the top level. We know she's one of the best riders on esports in the world. She's rides for the big teams. She's regularly guested for teams. She's looking very smooth there at the moment. Interesting towel around the neck there, looking to take the sweat, just keeping that in check, nice and handy. And it allows that focus, doesn't it? The less you have to brake, the better.
This course really suits her. Australia Outer Loop, December's final race. She came second to Mina Koinstinen that day, with Sidlik, Menezes and Fua rounding out the top 5. So Columbia, I think she must know she can put in a good effort on this course and that this course suits her. And she's really going to be watching those tactics now. Watching the road ahead of them is this category 2 race field, because they are coming up to the climb. They are on the foothills of the Cambra climb. And you can see on the bottom left-hand side of your screen, all of the category 4 and the category 3 race field ahead of them up this climb. As the category 2 pack explode on to the foothills, Daniel, Prado, Walkenhurst, Montgomery, Embring, Sarmiento are all in the mix here as they start to tap the way. And one of the things I'm loving, Matt, really is that we are seeing more and more of our riders now using this steering function and utilising it during racing.
So that is really key, isn't it? The steering to get in and across. Now we're in with Anna Embring here. Anna's got that iPad, the tablet just in front of her. You can see keeping a close eye on the action. At the moment, Anna Embring, another of our riders, one of our Swedish riders, Swedish esports cycling. Very, very
huge.
Strong indeed. It is huge, isn't it? And it's one of those key things that you see. Once you get a few people, lots of friends, lots of teammates coming together, just keeping on pushing on. I'm loving the fact that Anna Embring does an Emma. She's got post-it notes on the
poster on
the wall.
Immediately I was thinking, I wonder whether those are motivational phrases or whether they're numbers.
Anna, if you watch this back, if you're listening live, let us know. You know the score. Get in touch with @BikingEmma. Answer the question for Emma. Do you write yourself inspirational notes? So, like Jens, shut up legs, for example. Or do you write yourself pace notes, which would be my tactic, which is like 15K, big climb, big downhill. Remember to attack over the top or whatever, or eat. Are they reminders that say eat and drink? Don't just race. Let us know.
Embring racing hard in this category 2 leading pack, surrounded by really strong riders: Prado, Daniel, Walkenhurst, Sarmiento, Hermansen, Davidson. In fact, Dana Davidson just looking as though she's just need to push on and close that gap down a little there, but it's a slight stretch on this category 2 leading field. But it's looking like we have indeed seen one of the riders drop back. Now, on the left-hand side of your screen, you can see how much further back the category 1 leading field is, looking at like 2.5 kilometers back down the road from category 2. Category 2, well, they are only 500 meters behind the leader in the category 3 race, and that's Rebecca Johnson, who's pushing on up that climb. The category 4 race, they are 400 meters up the road from the leaders in the category 3 race. So this climb bringing those race packs together.
It is, and the push from the front, the people who are prepared to push and work and really kick this in really, really interesting here. We can see on the right-hand side of your screen, heading in towards the top step here, that category 4 group, but they are just distancing 1s and 2s behind, aren't they? I mean, there's gap starting to open. Sonnerson at the moment is 7 seconds down
Now that's
on that
surprising.
leading group of 5. And I think that is very surprising. On the left of your screen, category 3, we saw Rebecca Johnson going into the climb, taking a bit of a rest, taking a bit of a break. Now that she's on to the climb, she's squeezing here. She's got 4 seconds lead over Takova.
There's a big
And
chase group
Jaramillo
behind,
at the
though.
moment is at 5 seconds, 6 seconds until he hits it. That is a big chasing group. She needs to keep pushing, because if you're going to go over the top clear solo, you need to go over with some time gap, because a group will come back. We see that, don't we? We see groups working well.
And this is really interesting, because Johnson must be feeling really strong today. I mean, her heart rate's 192. In fact, look, there you go. She's in on the screen. She's out of the saddle, and boy, is she digging deep on this
Rebecca.
climb at the moment. So Johnson digging deep. Her heart rate, I would have exploded by now if my heart rate. I can't remember the last time my heart rate touched 192. But Johnson kicking in here with Hill and Jaril and Turkova chasing.
So over the top she goes. She's on to the flat. This is recovery time. This is where she's just got to keep that pedal cadence moving. She knows group behind are likely to use this to chase and to kick. Look at the power coming down from Jaramillo. I saw 4 watts per kilo there, chasing down, trying to get onto Johnson. Johnson cannot panic. That is going to be absolutely key. So category 3 on the way up. The slopes here looking good. Category 1 under the banner.
They are about to go under the polka dot banner, and the tactics on this climb are really interesting. Do you do what Johnson has chosen to do? Do you push on and try and go clear? Or do you do perhaps what Sonnerson is doing and sitting back from the lead group, thinking about potentially getting caught by the pack behind? Because on this race course, we have indeed seen finish. Well, Lou Bates in the mix here with Colombi, Kalman, Brune, Biarhead as well, Fua Gianti. This is a big leading group in this category 1 race. They're continuing to motor. They are now 300 meters into this climb. The gradient has not kicked up hard yet. There are places on this climb 13% on the lower slopes, 16% on the upper slopes. The average gradient, 7.6% for 5.4 kilometers.
And this climb is going to be key. Marlon Biarhead, we know, has been really, really hovering around those top 5s, in the top 5. She's a rider who we know could be right up in the mix here. And I think this sort of course suits her. Not the massive long climbs, but not the super short. This sort of Wollongong climb is a cracking climb for her. Is she going to be able to make the most of this, though? For me, this is key. Use this section. If she's feeling good now, she's looking really comfortable at the moment on that bike. I would be looking and thinking, right, I'm comfy here. Do I wait for other people to go, or do I use this? Because there is the feel-good factor of making the racing rather than following the racing can't be discounted, can it? And look at Celine Colombi. She's a rider who we know loves to make the race.
Oh, she does indeed. She loves to push on. She loves to be at the front. She loves to create the action. Busoni, Sidlick, Biarhead, Fua, all going with her at the moment, as it is indeed Colombi who pushes on. Now, we know she's a phenomenal climber. She's a great, great climber. She finished second, as I said, when we saw her earlier on. In fact, we're seeing her again now. You know, the confidence of knowing that this is her type of course, finishing second in that December final on this course to Koivunen. But other riders in here as well will want to go with her. But Busoni, Colombi, Fua, really in the mix here and really pushing on. Take a look at the damage at the back of this category 1 group. 4 riders now really distanced.
And this is where, for me, if you are making the action, you push, you can break, because you're coming into an even steeper slope. So if people have been distanced on that lower, less steep section, it's still steep, but it's less steep. You're not going to probably be able to stay once the gradient goes gain, because what separated riders is climbing ability, and climbing ability is something special. And there are lots of different styles. We'll see riders sitting down and getting out, revving it round. Some people liking to dance away, tiptoe on those pedals, really almost, athletic, like sort of sprinting on your toes. But then you also get those riders who sit there and they grind the gears. It's a good job you can't see in the studio if you, because Emma just had her hand up in the air saying, "Yep, that's sitting there,
I'm not the one
grinding
dancing
it
on my
out,
toes.
and sitting and using all of the muscle on the way through." So really interesting to see how they go. Now, we're just taking a little bit of a look back at Nellie Larson here, and good to see a different viewpoint here. Now, Nellie Larson is in the position where she is riding, but she has just been distanced by the group. She's got Monica Rona in front of her, and
Yeah, for
Rona
company.
has come up, hasn't she, from Category 2, if I'm correct here?
You are indeed correct.
And so, don't sound so surprised. And we just see Nelly in it here. And I'm loving the multi-use of boxes. This reminds me very much of Emma's Pain Cave in France. There's a pain cave in France, isn't there, you use, Emma, which I think you use are the old apple crates to make
They
the
are
table
indeed.
around you.
They are indeed.
Your
yeah.
pain cave that you use if we're working out in France. This is, and I'm loving that multi-use. But there on a kicker bike, so got the steering. I think that's a kicker. He says confidently, not confidently at all at this distance with my eyesight. But that bike, I got the kit. Now has to get the table. Just brilliant use of boxes.
Well, there's nothing wrong with making it up as you go along and using what you've got.
Recycle, reuse it. Definitely put it into
reuse. Why put something new in when you can create?
I always used to think when you were racing, the only things that you spent your money on were things that made you go faster.
Well.
Nothing else. And that is what we've got. Great kit there, great bike. Going to use the power, going to measure it super accurately, going to get everything that you've got out there. That's what your money goes on, making you go quick.
Well,
it's racing.
This race in the Category 1 race field is really starting to hot up now, because it was a big pack of what was 18 riders who went into the bottom of this climb together. 4 riders here pushing on: Columbi, Bates, Fua and Bruni. We've got Sidlick now just coming on. And this is really interesting, because we saw the stretch there and 4 riders start to go clear, and then we hit one of these steps. This is a stepped climb, 3 discrete steps on this climb. This is the flat section. After that first kicker went to 13%. We saw 4 riders push on. We've now seen another 4 riders join onto the back of that group. So 8 riders now clear from what was 18 riders, not much further down the hill. Well, Fua, Columbi, Biarhead, Sidlick in here. Van Hove has not made the group. Neither has Whitelaw, neither has Engstrom. Menendez has not made it either. So a chase group behind now, around 30 seconds back down the climb. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 riders I'm looking at here in this Category 1 race as the gradient starts to go up again.
It is. This is where it's kicking again. Who's on the push? Who's on the front? But Sony's looking strong here. So is Fua. You can see the pressure is starting to come, and it's Celine Columbi, I think, who's gone up the road once again. So Columbi at 6.5 watts per kilo, setting a tempo. But Sony goes after her. Then it's Sidlick and Fua, and they know now that this is going to be a key moment. They've made the selection of 8. Can they stay in the selection of the top 5 to be in a chance of that prize money? Or will they be running out as victor? You've got to be in it to win it. This is where it counts. When the pressure comes down, it's no good being able to sit and ride when you're at coffee chatter pace. This is about being at race pace and kicking and staying with the riders. We talked last show. Do have a listen back to last week's when we talk about what are your top 5 key things. For me, my top number 1 was a kick having the kick, having that explosive power to go clear, to open up the gap. Columbia really working here. You can see that heart rate up at 170 beats per minute. The cadence is down to 68 here, and the avatar out of the saddle. Be really interesting to see how they roll on this. You're just taking a little look on the left-hand side of your screen, the multicolor set of discs on the climb. That's a massive smile. As Emma's face on the other side of the studio, be careful, Emma, or your smile will go out on the show as well, because Emma absolutely loves it when it's like this. Riders all over the hillside, bodies everywhere, everybody giving it everything.
They are indeed giving it everything on this climb. This is the Cambra climb. It's 5.4 kilometres in length with an average gradient of 7.6%. It's a steep one. It goes up to 16% at the top, and it finishes at 20.7 kilometres. So we can see here, this is the front end of the race, and the leaders in the Category 3 race have caught the leaders in the Category 4 race. This is a big group of riders. They are at 19.5 kilometres. They've got 1.2k of climbing to go. And this shot is fantastic because you can see the riders coming round the bend behind. Those are the chasing riders. And I'll tell you something, the Category 2 leaders, the green jerseys, not the green skin suit that we can see in front of us, which signifies the leader in the sprint competition in Category 3, are not far behind.
That matter of seconds. Left-hand side of the screen, German Prado on the left of the screen there, making away. She's caught that group that we were looking at here. It's not going to be long, I think, before Prado is going to be our leader on the road, just making the most of dropping in behind those riders, getting a little bit of draft here. The speed is not going to be enough for it to take a huge effect, but Prado has made that gap. What a ride by Prado.
So for viewers new to us, our Category 4 riders are the first race to start on a Sunday. They're followed 5 minutes later by Category 3, who are followed 5 minutes later by Category 2, then 5 minutes later by Category 1. So 15 minutes separating Category 4 from our Category 1 riders. Prado there, you can see the amount of effort going in to take the lead on the road. Phenomenal riding by Prado as she continues to push up this climb. She's got one rider now on the road ahead of her, and that's the leader in the Category 3 race.
German Prado there, out of the saddle, really giving it everything. Good to see, looking after the bike there. Towel over the top of the headset and the stem, protecting those bearings. Really important. It's an area of a bike I'm very sensitive about at the moment. Having had mine let go and bounce on the floor. Not obviously on MyWhoosh, but in the outdoors. Shows you maybe I should just stick to riding indoors permanently. It's probably a lot safer for everybody. Now, Prado, we've just seen on your screens, giving it absolutely everything there. Really pushing on the bike. The Philippine rider looking very, very strong there. And looking good on that climb. Very smooth in terms of power delivery, despite being outside. And that's what I mean. She's out of the saddle, and yet that is a really smooth delivery. Putting everything into going clear here. 18 seconds back to Lisa Hermansen and Anna Emmering. I tell you something. If our cameras can go back there,
it's going to be a phenomenal chase.
Let's have a look. If we could see Lisa Hermansen or Anna Emmering's face. Now, we saw Lisa at the start looking all cool, calm, and collected. I wonder whether she's looking cool, calm, and collected. She's chasing 20 seconds down. This is the chasing group here, and they are working the way up, and it's just two Category 2 riders chasing Prado. Are they working as hard? Are they going to have as much left? Oh, here we go. So, I don't know. We might have a new Terminator on your screens because that's still looking cool. You know, the escapee, you know, when Connor's like running away from the Terminator. This is the Terminator coming behind. We have our T 3.0.
Well, Hermansen and Emmering working hard to pull back the leader in the Category 2 race. They're keeping that gap as short as possible as they get towards the top of this climb. It's currently sat at 20 seconds to Prado. Will two be able to catch one? Only time will tell. Now, talking about time, Matt, winning times on this course, really, really interesting. So in our December final, it was a 1:04 from Coinston that took the win in Category 1. It was a 1:08 from Svardström who took the win in category 2. 116 from Hill in category 3 and a 122 from Bremner in category 4. We're just in with Anna Embring. She's part and parcel of that chase group with Hermansen as the two continuing to tap up the climb. They are holding it at 20 seconds.
And at the moment, you can just see that out of the saddle moves there. They come round this left-hand turn. The gradient is at 12%. Embring out of the saddle there on that bike, really trying to keep the power down. Very similar technique that we saw coming from Prado as they go in the chase. What for me was really interesting there, Emma, I'm going to talk about this very quickly because I couldn't get the word in edgeways earlier on. That's the perils of being in a commentary box with somebody who knows how to talk, is what was really interesting about the two chases. They didn't look panicked. They didn't look panicked. Another two, Hermansen looked the coolest, calmest there. They know there's room to chase back.
There is. There is room to chase back, and part and parcel of that is what's also going on behind, and we've talked about that quite a lot today. This is one of those courses where it is important to keep your eye on what is going on behind, and at the moment in this category 1 race, Celine Columbi is pushing herself up this climb right at the front, but the chase is on with Lou Bates, and Bruni is in the mixes there. Fua and Sidlick are a little bit further back down the mountain, but it is indeed Busoni and Bates right at the top here. Busoni in 1, Bates is chasing, and you can see her just in the corner. Take a look how hard.
Yeah, she's going hard there. She's going really, really hard there. Now, I'm just taking a little look at these avatars here. Columbi is leading with the white helmet here. Busoni is in 2 in the black helmet, and Bates then is here with, I think she's gone for a similar hairstyle. She's got, what I'm loving, the personalization of the avatar matching our rider out there. You can see Lou Bates out of the saddle here, really wanting to get on the wheels here of Busoni and Columbi. And am I right in thinking, Emma, Busoni and Columbi are often teammates?
Oh, yeah.
I'm pretty sure they are. Now, Bates is trying to get on the wheels
they
there.
Are
and it could well be that Columbi and Busoni are talking to each other on Discord. And this is the low data. Here we are, Matt geeks out again. The low data option if you are racing to talk to each other. And this means that you can keep that conversation going. Yep, so Busoni with the black helmet chasing Columbi with the white helmet, all being chased by the rider behind it. It's not like I've got a thing about helmets having hit my head. It's just a really easy way for us to identify those riders.
Well, Bruni, the rider who is indeed chasing Bates at the moment, only 3 seconds back. She's the German time trial specialist that we have here today. So I think the latter part of this course will really suit her.
Oh, yeah, that's a really good point.
Well, Columbi, Busoni and Bates are 3 leading riders at the moment, just 4 seconds separating them, but they continue to push on here. They are 400 meters from the top of the climb as they worked their way into the top 20 on the road so far. Category 3, Category 4 and Category 2 leaders are ahead of them on the road. Is this all going to come together? Are we going to see all 4 race categories push to the finish? We're definitely seeing these Category 1 riders push to stay at the front.
I think this is going to be very interesting. I mean, your point you made before we hit the climb was that Category 1 were a long way back. Category 1 leaders are definitely not a long way back now. They have closed down. The rider they're about to see is Rebecca Johnson, who is right up there in Category 3. They're working their way past them. Johnson on the left of your screens at the moment. You can see Merle Bruni here has put in a phenomenal dig to get back in. That was a massive push to get on. Columbi, Bruni, Bates and Busoni, that shuffle in this group really has happened, but it should be Columbi who's going to go over the top first.
And we can see also Rebecca Johnson there, currently lying in 17th place, 9 seconds back from Columbi at the moment, but she was the leader in the Category 3 race. De Silva and Hill now further ahead of her in that race. Can she hang in to one of the groups who are going to catch her, and can she take that catch back and pull through?
That's the tactic you'll be using, isn't it? get with the group, get with a pack of fast-moving riders on the descent so that you can stay with them. And there is a little bit of a platform on the top. You see that top right-hand corner of your screen, the top of that white line representing the top, the plateau summit here before we go diving down. It's not very long before the gradient drops and our riders start descending down now. Columbia up there, 17:05. It shows you the time difference to Prado, who is the fastest Category 2 rider, 3 minutes 26 quicker for Columbia than Prado. The time gaps between Columbia, Bruni, Bassoni, Bates, and Sidlick. Well, Bates still in touching distance because she's got Bassoni for company. Sidlick at 30 seconds. That is a horrible place to be, isn't it? Because she's basically halfway between the leader and Catherine Fua, who's behind her.
And doing the chasing. This is going to be really interesting to see whether these riders stay clear at the front of this race. And you can see here, Bassoni is chasing the 3 riders at the front. I think that's going to become a group of 4. In fact, it has already become a group of 4. So we have Columbia, Bruni, Bates, and Bassoni now in a leading group of 4. So phenomenal work over the top of the climb. And you can see Roberta Bassoni on shot at the moment, working hard on the descent. 6-7 watts per kilo. That was a sprint effort over the top, and that was what was needed to get that momentum rolling to make that catch. Phenomenal show of technique and tactics. Absolutely brilliant.
It is, but she's got to keep going here. She's got to dig, and that's where the encouragement is really going to need to come in, because on this descent, what we do find, climbers who go up well because they have a great power to weight ratio, lots of power, less weight. Descending, it's not as easy. Very often the riders who are not as good as climbing are good on descent, and it's very easy for a lightweight climber to get dropped on a descent. It is a point where bigger riders or riders who have a bit more mass can really kick on and actually put it back towards them.
Well, these riders, Bates in here, Bruni in here, Columbia in here, they are absolutely motoring really well down this climb. Columbia is the rider in the mix. Bassoni, she's 6 seconds back now. Can she make this juncture?
She needs to make this junction. If she doesn't make that junction, she's going to be in trouble. She has to get back on board here. This is really, really critical. We're on a slight leveling off here. It's minus 1.5, minus 1.8. It's not huge, but she's got to get back 6 seconds. And Sidlick is making ground on Bassoni as much as Bassoni's losing ground on these riders in front as well. So it's going to be really interesting. Let's keep our eyes on this because, Emma, if you were that group of 3, Lou Bates, look at the comparison. Lou Bates is looking very comfy here. She's cool, calm, collected, sat down. She's doing some recovery. She's
some serious recovery going on there.
Yeah, she's going to be dropping that heart rate, surely. I mean, you know, it really does strike me as a rider who's very calm.
And this is the challenge here, you know. You've worked hard on the climb, you've got a gap, you've got a breakaway, you've got a group of 3. How much do you push on the descent to stay clear? How much do you recover on the descent because you know you've got a long run to the finish? It's a really, really good question. Now, we saw Bassoni push really hard at the top of that descent, but she's not managed to close the gap, and she's now sat at what I would call a time trial pace, trying to make the catch, but she's not got that momentum of the group to help her.
Do you think she's paying for the fact she tried to go with Columbia, and Columbia was pushing hard at the front, and was that just too far in the red so that when they got to the very summit, and the pace picked up, she couldn't respond, and that's what put that initial gap in there. Because at one point on the climb, she was right in that mix, and then has she paid the price on that initial part of the descent when picking up speed is important? She's now at 13 seconds. That's got to be heartbreaking.
Well,
You've got to feel for her, big style.
Well, for me, this is the story of a lone rider versus a group of 3. You know, when you've got a group of 3, the draft, the momentum, it picks up faster. When you've got a lone rider, making that catch is really difficult. Well, making the catch at the moment is Lisa Hermansen. She's pushed on. Jeremy Prado had a gap of around 20 seconds, if you remember, on that climb. Prado was clear of the chasing 2. The chasing 2 were Hermansen and Embring. Well, those 2 have worked together, and Prado now being caught.
And that's a great example, isn't it? I mean, we said 3-1 before. This is 2-1.
Yep.
Two riders,
Opposite way round.
two riders bringing down one rider there. That's the smile on Lisa Manson's face. So that's catch
Well, I'd
job.
be smiling if I just caught the front of the race. And she has indeed. So Hermansen, Prado and Embring. 3 riders. They are the leaders in category 2 and they are the leaders on the road today on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club.
Now, if you've just caught somebody, would you attack them immediately? Or would you, just to see whether they were on their limit, or would you hold and just do some recovery, Emma?
I'm just taking a little look to see how far they are from the finish line. And that'll influence my answer. So there's around just over 7 kilometres to the finish line. You know, if I was 2 or 3K from the finish line, it might be very different to what I might do 7K out, particularly if I've just put an effort in up a 5-kilometre climb and then chased and gapped and brought back a 20-second gap.
Splinters.
I would sit and take a rest right now if I was Hermansen and Embring. I'd take a big breath, I'd drop my heart rate, and then I'd think about what I'm going to do at the end. Well, on the other side of your screen, it is the leaders in the Category 1 race. Columbi, Bates and Bruni Bassoni never made the catch. 18 seconds back now.
And she's got company coming relatively quickly, I think, in Sidley. But Sidley looks to have almost stabilised a bit there. So 3 riders in Category 2 at the front of Category 2 on the right of your screen. 3 riders at the front of Category 1 on the left of your screen. Both groups contain the polka dot skin suit of the fastest climber. Columbi in Category 1. That is Prado in Category 2.
Shall I give you the fastest climbers in Category 3 and Category 4?
Yes, please.
So Category 3 is Jaramillo from Turkova from Vink. Those were the 3 fastest climbers in Category 3. In Category 4, Trinidad Reyes setting the fastest time.
Nice.
Paolo in 2 and Lloyd in 3.
Trinidad Reyes has been climbing really well in Category 4. Really impressed.
Well, she took the win last week on the other feet.
Yeah.
Phenomenal
great
climbing.
climber.
She is a really strong climber and setting the fastest time in that Category 4 race up that climb today.
And today is a very different course. We don't have that long summit. Quick shout out for you. If you are a climber, then get yourselves on the endurance climb. We're going to that in a minute. I think we're going to be able to dive in. Now, Linda Sarmiento, we're talking about riders who've really been improving. Linda Sarmiento really has shown that she's very much in the right category here in Category 2. Very interesting there. Down on the tri-bars, on the aero bars there, that actually saves you a lot of energy because you're not supporting your body weight with your muscles as much as you are leaning on the bike. And that can actually save you energy. So whilst there's no aerodynamic advantage in your pain cave, in your studio, wherever you are training, it's definitely a way to be using your body more efficiently. So really interesting to see that in this cruising phase, she's down on the air bars, resting on those, and that's worth about 4 or 5 beats in terms of heart rate. It can be worth 2 or 3% in terms of effort required for the same speed, even indoors.
Looking at the results, though, over the last couple of months, Sarmiento rode strongly in December. She had a 3rd place on the her feet in Qualifier 1. She had, I'm just having a little look, 4th place on the Paso Alto in Qualifier 4. Now, she's not replicated that with a top 5 finish yet in January.
Really?
Yeah. So really interesting to see her push on today and be in the mix.
Very interesting. Very interesting indeed. Let's see how she goes on. And don't forget, you can get all of the results on www.mywhoosh.com/results. We will be bringing you all of the top riders that we can and the results as they go through the screens live. But don't forget the verified results on mywhoosh.com/results. That's where you go for the results. It's where you go if you want to enter. It's where you go if you want the details of the racing, where we're heading, what the distance is, and what the route profile is. And this is our profile that we have left in front of us. We went our way through the Sydney Sprint, down the dip, up the rise. that split the groups for the first time over the Cambra climb that we've seen be so decisive. We've made our way down the descent. All of our leading groups off the descent from the Cambra climb, now heading towards the Cambra sprint. But Emma, if we focus in on the back part of the course profile, there are some rises that split groups and that can break it apart. But frequently, riders, if they've stayed together that far, have the energy to take it to a sprint. Do you think the damage of those little rises is enough, though, to influence a sprint at the end? Who's got the power left?
I think it does influence legs, depending upon how much other riders kick and utilise that to break down their opponents for that final sprint. But more often than not, we see multiple groups sprint after sprint after sprint on this climb. Now, the riders have done some really good work today in terms of utilising the Cambra climb to make the group small. We're looking here. This is Embring, Prado and Hermansen, the three riders at the front of this Category 2 race. They are over a minute clear of the chase riders behind, of Sarmiento, of Daniel and Kong. So it's three riders with a gap, then three riders in this Category 2 race. Ella Vink is sitting with that chasing group. She's leading the Category 3 race, and she is sat tightly in at the moment, and I bet really working hard to hang on to that chase group, because Claudia Gentili is not far behind in that race at all.
No, I think it's only less than 20 seconds separating the leader, Vink, and Gentili, Takova and co. And it is a chasing group, so it's groups chasing groups. So this course is running to form, with groups forming without individual breakaways, but with groups trying to chase each other down. Category 1, the fastest riders on the road, the lead group on your screen at the moment. Looking at those numbers, they're holding a pace because they don't want Stephanie Sidlick to come back. We know that Stephanie Sidlick is a great time trial rider. They don't want Bassoni to come back. They know how dangerous she is. They've seen that. And she's a teammate of Columbia on all too many occasions.
I tell you, if Sidlick can catch Bassoni and the two of them can work together, they might actually stand a chance of coming back. They've got 4.2 kilometres, 4.1 kilometres now before the finish line. 2 is better than 1.
Would you wait if you were Bassoni, though?
Well, that's a good question, because currently, she's looking at sitting in 4th place. If Sidlick catches her, then it's a who gets 4th, who gets 5th position. But it may be the only possibility Bassoni have got of catching these three riders down the road. So do you risk 4th place for a possible win, or do you hold 4th place knowing you've got it? That is the question Roberta Bassoni is asking herself, because Bruni, Bates and Columbi are down the road at the moment, and Sidlick, well, she is just behind her.
And look at the effort Bassoni's putting in there. Fastest time through the Cambra sprint. Now there are no prizes. Oh, it was the fastest time. These results are live. We always say that, and Sidlick's just something even quicker. So we have Bassoni going just over a second quicker than the leading group of 3. You've got Sidlick just under a second faster than Bassoni, bearing in mind that that sprint segment is 300 metres, less than a third of a kilometre. But as they go through that, the finish of that sprint is at 31.3k. That means there's not far to go to the finish. I think that gap is too big to catch the lead in 3. They're surely not going to throw away the chance of a win. However, it's certainly, for me, going to be a close run thing. And the slightest hesitation by any of the riders now is going to see them in trouble. In Category 1, who are currently at 31.8k, further down the road, Category 2, to say Category 1 were catching, Emma, Category 2 have really, really pushed on this descent, because I think that pressure coming from behind, Prado, Embring and Hermansen, that chase by the riders behind us brought them back up. They are at 33.2k.
They are indeed, aren't they? And the chase group are running out of road.
They are. They're going to. I think you're using that in the current tense. I think I'd use that in the past tense. They've run out of road. I think they're going to. They have run out of road, because there's just not the distance left. Look at how close we are coming in now to the finish. Left-hand side of your screen, Lou Bates at the moment trying to make the most. She's towing along, I think, Gentili here and Columbia in there. I mean, very interesting to see.
This is going to be such an interesting finish now, because these three riders in this category 3 race, well, they are the chase group. Ella Vink is down the road and she is leading that category 3 race. How long can they sit in it? Their tactic now is to hang on to this group of category 1 riders for as long as possible. It's a really difficult job because of the pace they are moving at.
And you got that dead right. They caught them on the climb. Because they caught them on the climb, exactly what Emma said earlier, they've caught them on the climb. They've distanced them straight away. That group couldn't take very much advantage of a base of Columbia, of Bruni coming through because of where they got
timing.
caught.
Timing of the catch is absolutely crucial to the other races at the moment.
And look how close, look, Ella Vink is here, Emma.
Vink is able to stay clear at the moment because they could not hang on to this category 1 group. Now, what is going to happen is this category 1 group are going to catch Ella Vink, who's leading that category 3 race, on a flat going into a descent. Vink now is going to kick. She's going to kick hard to try and stay with them, because she's going to want to stay in this group. She's going to want to take the draft because it will give her a bigger gap to the chase group behind. That chase group is now at 15 seconds. Vink is going to be digging and digging deep.
And we need to keep an eye on that because we've got Columbia, Bruni and Bates. They're working really hard to come back down. They are currently in 7th, 8th and 9th. Meanwhile, up at the very front here, this is the run to the finish. This is the last 300 metres now for Category 2. They're the leaders on the road. Anna Embring opens up the sprint here with Lisa Hermansen behind him. It's Embring with the blue hat on. The white hair there of Hermansen goes to the front. Prado's on her heels in the skiing suit of the polka dot leader. But Lisa Hermansen, cool as a cucumber, the Terminator, takes the win here today in qualifier number 3 in Category 2. Great riding there as they come through. So that was Hermansen being through the line. This is your Category 1 run for the line. Celine Columbia, just I think, is holding. She's holding. Can she make this? It's so close. We are at 700 meters. I thought she was going to go clear. She didn't. I think Bates has come through. It looked like she just attacked through that group, but it's not happened. They've caught the group. This is a chasing group of riders. Right-hand turn coming up, then a straight, then it's left and into the finish. Time is ticking down, 400 meters now to go, and Bates is opening up.
Let's not forget, this is also the race for 4th and 5th in the Category 2 races. Bates pushes on with Columbia chasing.
Bates at nearly 10 watts per kilo here. She opened the throttle. She really has kicked. So Daniels is coming behind in Category 2. But in the Category 1 race, Lou Bates has got a gap. Columbia, though, digging deep. Has she got enough? She's not. Lou Bates, the winner of Category 1. It's going to be, I think, Columbia in 2, just behind her. She goes in and through the line there. What a ride. What a race. Bates from Columbia, from Bruni.
And Vink comes in for the win in Category 3. She stayed clear of Gentili, Hill and Turkova, who are literally coming round the bend now as they open up the throttle. Gentili wants 2nd place from Hill, from Turkova. So that's 2, 1 and 3. Both of those races now in and through the line.
So your Category 1 leader turns it to a win. It's Lou Bates from Columbia, from Bruni, Hermansen from Breda, from Embring. Great riding by Kong, Daniel and Sarmiento, trying to close that gap all the way into the finish. Fantastic riding by Ella Vink to stay clear there, despite the dangers of being caught. Fantastic racing. This route, the outer loop, never fails to give us a fantastic landscape for our riders to bring us the action. Absolutely fantastic fun. Emma, real pleasure putting words to this one.
It was indeed, and Bassoni and Sidlake rounding out the top 5 in that Category 1 race. I always say this course gives us good racing.
You're dead right there. Don't forget, you can catch up with us on social media. It's at Matt Fixer-Payne across social media. For me, Emma, where can we find you?
You can find me at Biking Emma.
And don't forget, please do get in touch with your stories of how the race was won, how you're feeling.
And what you put on your Post-it notes.
definitely what you put on your post-it notes, particularly for @biking. And we're tagging @MyWhoosh across all of social media. And don't forget, we will be bringing you the women's finals next week with our team competition as well as our individual competition. The culmination of January. This is going to be an absolutely brilliant race. In between, don't forget, of course, we will be bringing you the men's race very shortly. So please do make sure you tune in for that. But from Emma, from myself, and from all the team behind the scenes bringing you the action, it's time for us to say, stay safe. We'll see you again soon.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.